What does it mean that God is sovereign? We hear this term used often in relation to governing authorities as they exercise their will or rule. For example, if we in America were to try to govern another nation, let's say France, no doubt France would declare a violation of their sovereignty or their right to rule freely over their territory or area of influence. In the same way, but to the infinite degree, God is sovereign. He is ruler over all. Nothing in all creation happens outside of His sovereign will. While most Christians would agree that God is sovereign, the degree to which God is sovereign is hotly debated today. So, let's open up Scripture and look at what God tells us about His sovereignty and how being under His great rule is actually one of a Christian's greatest comforts. Number 1, God is sovereign in His will. Psalm 135:6 says, "Whatever the Lord pleases, He does, in heaven and in earth, in the seas and in all deeps." In Daniel 4:35, the prophet writes that all the inhabitants of the earth are counted as nothing, but He does according to His will in the host of heaven and among the inhabitants of earth, and no one can ward off His hand or say to Him, "What have you done?" He is not bound by man, nor nation, nor any construct which man can devise. No ruler on earth, nor heavenly creature above can even question the work of His hand. Number 2, God is sovereign in salvation. Romans 9:15-18 says, "For He says to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. So then it does not depend on the man who wills or the man who runs, but on God who has mercy. For the Scripture says to Pharaoh, for this very purpose I raised you up to demonstrate my power in you, that my name might be proclaimed throughout the whole earth. So then He has mercy on whom He desires, and He hardens whom He desires." The reality is, Christian, if you've been plucked out of darkness into light, it's because the sovereign God has chosen to show you mercy. It's all Him, which leads me to number 3. God is sovereign in faith. Because God is sovereign in salvation, it also means He is the one doing the work. Hebrews 12:2 tells us that Jesus is the author and perfecter of faith. John 6:37-39 says, "All that the Father gives me will come to me, and the one who comes to me I will certainly not cast out. For I have come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of Him who sent me. This is the will of Him who sent me, that of all that has been given to me, I lose nothing, but raise it up on the last day." Because God is sovereign, He does whatever He pleases. Because God is sovereign, He saves whom He chooses to save. And because God is sovereign, Christian, you can rest in the grace of God, knowing that the God who called you will perfect you, keep you, and raise you to be with Him one day in glory.